Qarziba, a cutting-edge pharmaceutical antibody used to treat complex illnesses in hospitals all over the world. This is manufactured by Aperion Biologics, an Austrian-based firm. The raw medicine is then loaded into a canister, like this one, and shipped to the Netherlands to be packaged, then onto Ireland for warehousing. It will then be sold wholesale to Beijing, who will label the product for individual markets in their plant in Guangzhou, before shipping it back to Ireland, which will in turn ship it to regional distribution centres, who will distribute it directly to hospitals, who will distribute it to doctors, who will distribute it into their patients' squishy organs. Yeah, I know, right? What's more is that this didn't even include the base chemicals needed to actually manufacture this raw medicine, and APN 311's supply chain isn't even an outlier in the pharmaceutical world. If anything, it's comparatively straightforward, but not as straightforward as making a product and then just shipping it to distribution centres. So why add all of this extra complexity? And don't think this is a weird quirk of the medical industry either. Everything from your fridge to your phone to the clothes you are wearing right now have likely been produced bit by bit in dozens of countries in hundreds of different factories involving tens of thousands of workers. If I were to ask you where iPhones are made, you'd probably turn around and say, well, China. But this isn't the whole story. The entire iPhone supply chain before retail distribution involves 43 countries, from battery lithium mined in Brazil to semiconductors printed in Taiwan, all the way down to really obscure things like those lovely little boxes, which are produced in the Czech Republic. So, when does this all get too much? Sure, there are comparative advantages to producing products in countries with good manufacturing infrastructure or low labour costs, or hey, even some nice tax policies. But at what point does shipping things back and forth across the world end up costing more than the cheap salaries you're able to exploit? Well, to find out, we're going to, as always, look at a few critical factors. How do companies come up with these intricate supply chains? Why are some of these supply chains so convoluted, where others are extremely straightforward? And will the severe restrictions put on international shipping during the fallout of the coronavirus make companies rethink how far they extend their supply lines?
Greetings, everyone. This is Scott Montgomery of the Small Town Mercer. As you just saw in that video, supply chain is going to be a problem. Well, it's a problem now. That's how you saw in the video kind of how it works. But when we move to the world of cryptocurrency, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. And so today's topics are actually going to be problems using cryptocurrency and or solutions. So I said it's going to be a problem, but it's also going to solve a lot of problems as well. So this is the first part of 3 videos I'm going to be making over the next 3 or 4 days. And I'm going to discuss some of the problems there are with cryptocurrencies. This video is going to be going to address supply chains, okay, and basically the current situation of economics worldwide. The next video I'm going to discuss some of the shady issues involved with cryptocurrency. I'm going to give some examples. I can't give all the examples. And then I'm going to show how those can be remedied. And then there's a third video coming along, and that's going to I'm going to discuss more about taxation, because I did make a video about it, how I thought it might work, but I'm going to give a kind of an example, and I'm still working on that so that I can make it clear. All right, so let me get started with this video. Supply chain. We're going to do supply chain today. Now, as you saw in that video, supply chain is a very difficult and logistical issue. And some of the problems that you're going to see, some of the problems we have today. So in today's world, there are 3 issues that really cause supply chain to be a logistical nightmare. Or it can be. Not always, but it can be. And some of the reasons for it, some of the reasons why you see this elaborate supply chain is because companies are trying to make the most profit they can in manufacturing and selling a product. And so one of the largest things they have to deal with is the value of currency. Okay. Generally, what you see is the development of a product is generally in one of the what we call the first world countries, right? The United States or Europe or so forth and so on. Some of the well-developed countries in Asia. Then you have to get around the issues of taxation. All right. And some of those issues are sometimes you buy and sell these products, as you saw on the video, and you have to pay taxes on them. Or maybe sometimes you pay tariffs, moving it back and forth. So taxation is a problem. And then you have the costs of trade. Okay? And especially when materials are involved. And we used to have a lot of raw material manufacturing in the United States. Not so much anymore. I remember during the Trump administration, he was trying to bring some of that back. But honestly, I don't think you're going to see a lot of that coming back to the United States, simply because of the land requirements and the environmental costs of it. I think it's going to be really hard. We were able to do that. I think some steel production came back. Some mining is coming back, and it should. And oil production and that type of thing are the three winners in that category. I think it's a lot easier to bring back manufacturing to this country, but I don't think a lot of manufacturing is going to come back either. So some of it will eventually, especially if he's reelected again. Well, we'll see about that. But even if he's not reelected again, and even as we go forward with whatever political solutions we're going to come up with in the future, I think bringing back some of these is going to be imperative no matter who's running the country. So those are the three issues that I see happening. And to address these issues with cryptocurrency is going to make it difficult at first, very problematic, but I think the solutions are there, and I'm going to go over some. I can't go over them all. This is a very intricate problem, and there's going to be some issues that I can't go over, but there are some basic issues that I can go over that I think cryptocurrency will address, and address positively in this realm. So let's get started. Let's talk about number one. Okay. Number one, we have the currency value. Well, obviously, cryptocurrency is what? Crypto is largely the same price. Same, SM, yeah, right. Wow, same price everywhere. Now, most cryptocurrency is sold on exchanges. I'm going to get into that in my video on scams. Okay, so it's largely the same price worldwide. And that's going to solve a lot of problems, is it not? The value of currency is largely why we stick some manufacturing, some low-level jobs where we stick them. But when let's say you move some of that manufacturing back to the United States, what happens to the manufacturing that was going on in Europe or China or some of these other countries, Eastern Europe, let's say, or China, or even South America, Canada, South Korea, wherever, Vietnam now, India is an emerging manufacturing center. Is that not going to take jobs away from those people? And how is that going to help them? By helping the United States, are we not hurting something else? And I would say to the answer to that question, in our currency situation, our fiat currency situation, it's actually hurting the United States. It's helping those countries. So it's a sum gain loss, kind of like the mercantilistic system was. Okay, in the cryptocurrency, I don't think so. And here's why I say that. Because you got to remember that making things in third world countries helps them, But like I said, it depends what you're making. Now, if you're going to assemble things, I think it could be done locally. However, if you manufacture the parts themselves, a lot of these part manufacturers are overseas. And I don't think manufacturing of parts is ever going to come back here. And the reason I say that is because um, it's a little bit redundant to have assembly here and manufacturing of the small parts and the component parts here in one country as well, because our country, as well as a lot of the what we call the first world countries, or if you want to refer it to that, are largely more educated now. And I don't think you're going to have enough um, employment opportunities in this country. In other words, persons able to fill those jobs, because they're high paying work jobs, or what I would call blue collar jobs. I'm sorry, but you you only have so many blue collar jobs you're going to be able to fill, and so I think more blue collar jobs. I think assembly jobs, assemble things locally. I think repair. I think secondhand manufacturing. I'll just do that. Okay, second. What I mean by secondhand is I mean duplicating parts for equipment that is no longer being made, like an old car or something. So, um, I'm getting the wrap up sign, but I am almost finished. So anyway, so yes, we're going to get that. Um, Secondhand manufacturing repair, but those things can be done locally. Those things don't have to be done overseas. Newer products, older products, reassembly those things, or remake them or whatever. That's just a die and cast molding and what have you. And those old parts that are no longer being made can be moved over to duplicated and moved over to other countries. So that creates jobs overseas where they can make the moldings and ship them all over the world. So you can do this in all numerous types of countries. So it actually, cryptocurrency makes that part of it more sound. Um, so over time, you can have this cooperation, and because you're not having to fight the value of currency, you can actually make more jobs and specialize. And so I think that's a win-win. Now the second one is going to also, I think cryptocurrency can can help out in alleviating taxation. Um, I think taxation could be more uniform because of cryptocurrency. It's going to be a problem, but I'm going to do a whole video on taxation. So right now I'm just saying it could be homogenized throughout the world. Oh God. Okay. And so basically, you're only going to impose a tariff maybe if you want to protect an industry, so maybe a small tariff to kind of discourage it from moving or leaving the country if you really think you need it. And mergers and acquisitions, I think, could be a lot easier. So you can keep your company there if it merges with another company. You don't have to move it out of the country. And it could be part of a conglomerate. So I think actually cryptocurrency makes that part of it a lot easier. I'm going to go over that more in my taxation video, which will be the third one in this series. And so that's why I'm only going to address it kind of briefly here. And the trade costs. Well, guess what? I think companies are going to save money because some of the assembly and all that is going to be done locally. So you're just shipping it locally. But you're still going to be shipping all these other parts that are newer, that are more difficult, more technical, and already set up. So you may have less shipping in the future, but you're still going to have shipping. Okay? So it's going to maybe hurt the import-export business a little bit, but not a lot. Because I think you're still going to have to ship. You're still going to have to ship food. There are certain foods you can't grow in Europe. You know, you're probably not going to make cars in small countries. You know, Volvo is not going to make 10 million cars a year in Sweden. There just aren't that many people or aren't that many areas you're going to want to put a factory and not that many employees to work there. So they're still going to make cars wherever they make cars, other European countries or wherever. You can still make cars elsewhere, but you can make them here too. So some countries are not going to want to do that. They've already got their manufacturing facilities wherever they are, and I don't know that they're going to add to it. So you're still going to ship things, especially food, especially like I said, those component parts. Medicines are going to be developed elsewhere. I think all it's going to help is you're going to be able to do some of the raw materials extraction and some of the manufacturing maybe now in Africa, in African nations, maybe even in South American nations. They just don't have to extract raw materials and ship them out of the country, and the government gets all the money and the people don't get anything. I think now you can move more of that there. That may take away for some financing and some money in European countries or America or someplace, but not a lot, because again, I think you replace it with more of the high end stuff, and eventually the what do you call it, the research and development, and eventually the third world countries will have their own research and development. So then it becomes more competitive. Then you might throw a tariff on there or something to maybe keep some of your industry in place. But cryptocurrency, I think, balances things out. So there is going to be a net loss. There are going to be problems with it, but there are also going to be solutions. So anyway, I want to thank you. Again, I will get more into the taxation part of it in the taxation video. I'll probably have to make another video about shipping and revisit this topic again. So in more detail, show you a case study maybe to show how that might work. But you are going to see some net losses, but you're going to see some net gains. And I think the biggest positive is the world is going to have more of a balance and less of a poverty issue in certain portions of the world. And like I said, if you can I did a video about economic issues and about replenishing parts of Africa that have been destitute, as well as Australia and other parts of the world. Don't you think with a better economy, because of cryptocurrency, because of a unified currency throughout the world, making things more even, don't you think with a better economy and more advanced scientific research that parts of those nations could have more developed agriculture and land use and less desert and desolate land, and maybe even more agriculture and more food? Yes, I think so. And so that's the overall plus of this. So this is going to be a shorter video. I thank you for watching. This has been Scott Montgomery of the Small Town Mercer. We'll see you in my next video. Thank you.